Well, we want to welcome every single one of you to Hot Topics. I keep telling Helen that maybe we should start this off with a jingle. Like, does everybody know the Hot Pockets commercial? Like, oh, I think we need to rewrite that for ourselves and just turn that into a Hot Topics. And tonight, we're going to be kicking this off with an amazing interview with my incredible friend. My incredible friend that I get to do life together with. A friend who has become family. A friend for me that has become family and is also a part of our Soul Detox team as one of our certified Soul Detox coaches. So we get to work together in many different facets and forms of life, but it is my honor tonight to get to interview this amazing woman. So can every single one of us just welcome together Helen Martins to the screen. Oh, Helen, I'm so thankful that you are here with us.
Me too.
It's a privilege to have you here.
Yeah, I'm absolutely honored. I did not know, and I think I told you this in the beginning. I think I told you this last week that I went through my notes from a year ago, and just looking at the goals that I had set for myself for 2025. And one of them that I was seeing, which is with my personal relationship with God, was teaching alongside Dr. Tina, and that's something we had never done together before. And here we are. Here we are.
Just 1 year later.
Yeah.
1 year later, from when you put that out there as a request, you set that as your intention. You did that inner work, that inner tension. You stretched yourself to be able to be ready for a night like this. And not only this, but we also co-teach in Multiply Her, a women's group that we have pulled together with amazing women who are ready to step in and multiply themselves and stuff we're going to be even talking about together tonight. But we're not only are we doing this here, but we're also doing this in other platforms as well.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight is we are going to be going through 4 different huge questions. These are hot topics. These are questions that come up for us in coaching a lot. Or they're questions that are sent into us anonymously because they're such hot questions that some people don't even want to put their name connected to them. But when questions come up over and over and over again, we know they need to be addressed. And when they're asked within private one-on-one coaching sessions or they're asked anonymously, we thought, hey, what better way to address these things than go ahead and just bring them out and talk about them with everybody at the same time so we can make these really big hot topic questions something that all of us can begin to have a palate for. We can begin to digest and have conversation and not feel awkward or weird, or if it's the first time you've ever heard anybody talk about these things publicly, you can get over it by watching Helen and I have this conversation. We'll do the awkward and you can just join in with us as we go. Is that good? Every single one of us as we do that together? Okay. All right. So Helen, tonight, can you present to everyone what is the topic that we're going to be bringing up today?
Well, if I could sum it up in a few different words, it would be that you were never meant to be just a wife. Because growing up, I mean, who here, let us know in the chats if you have ever thought this. Has your dream ever been when you were younger to get married? That was your life goal. I just want to be a wife. And then you accomplished that. And then, okay, now I want to be a mom. And then you accomplished that. And then what? Then what happens? Well, you were never meant to be just one of those roles. And if we realize that, knowing that that's not your only calling, there's something so much deeper than that, it provides freedom in a completely new way. So that's where we're going.
I love that. And I know we hear enough from women that have made it their goal to get married. They've made it their goal to be a mom, that many of us have gotten married and then have become moms of multiples. And then you just go, oh my gosh, what did I just do? I think my new goal is to be single. I think my new goal is to go backwards in time. I mean, that's real. I mean, you absolutely love the one that you're married to, or maybe you don't. You absolutely love your children. Maybe some days you don't. But these are the realities of the different topics that we're going to be hitting.
You know, this is so real because I'm just reminded now when I was in grade school and I was in grade 8, our teacher, he told every single one of us in our classroom to say, he asked us all, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's your profession? Has anyone ever been asked that question? Like, what do you want to do when you get big? Do you want to know what my response was? I was sitting beside one of my friends and we both said, our life goal is to see which one of us is going to have the most kids. That was our goal, to see who was going to have the most. Well, she won. She's winning. And that is no longer my goal. But that's just, I couldn't see myself really in a profession so much as a mom and a wife. I absolutely love every single one of those, both of those roles. They mean everything to me, but there's more.
Yeah, that's honest.
Yeah.
That's real. And how oftentimes, well, let me just go into this question. We'll get into this. The first question right here is, what do you think is the most common misconception of the understanding of the Proverbs 31 woman? Can you explain that to us?
Yes. So first of all, I know not all of you are familiar with the Proverbs 31 woman. For me, I'm a believer, so I love the Bible. So Proverbs 31 is one of the chapters in the Bible in a book called Proverbs, which is a book filled with wisdom. And one of these chapters is about a woman, and it starts to talk about all the qualities of what a virtuous woman looks like. And so what I feel like for me, I feel like the biggest rabbit hole that I went down was thinking that it was a checklist. I mean, I believed so much it was a checklist that I actually made a checklist for myself. I looked at this chapter and I saw everything she did and I made a list with a checkbox and I tried to check them all off. So she rises early in the morning, she rises late at night, or she goes to bed late at night. She, like, all of these things, and I made a checklist and it was exhausting. I fell short every day because I could never do them all. And so I began to not really like this virtuous woman because I felt like it was not attainable. And so that, I feel like, is one of the misconceptions of thinking that this is a to-do list, that you have to do all of these things.
Before you go any further, if there are any of us on here, male or female, that have made that list for ourselves of these are all of the things I must do in order to be success in life, what would be the very first thing that you would say to people on that?
Well, for me, it's you knowing that you're actually a success before you do anything. You don't find success in a role. You find success in just being who it is that God, of what I believe that God created you to be. And so if I can just ask all of you to put the checklist mentality to the side a little bit and to see, well, what is that actually? If it's not a checklist, then what is it? What is it? If I don't have to strive to do all of these things, then how can I look at it in a healthy way? And what I realized, Dr. Tina, as I began studying it deeper, first of all, I stopped going there altogether, because there was another time where I was comparing myself so much to other women because I was not a good enough wife. I wasn't a good enough mom, because one of the things actually, I figured, like, I had this picture in my mind, and I don't know where I got this picture from. Maybe some of you have that picture in your mind as well. But when I thought about the Proverbs 31 woman, I pictured a woman in the kitchen with an apron. She was by the stove. She was pulling out fresh baked bread in the morning. So even before her kids were awake and her husband was awake, they were just smelling bread. So that's the picture that I had in my mind of that's a Proverbs 31 woman. And so it didn't take me very long after we got married that I realized my husband's better at baking bread than I am. Now I felt like there was competition, because now I wasn't being a good enough Proverbs 31 woman, because I was doing all the doing, do this better, do this better, do this better. And so There was even one time when I baked bread and it had not risen really well. So I made these little buns that I learned from my mom, and they just didn't rise. But I figured, well, they're smaller now, so I can actually pack my husband 3 of these buns in one little sandwich bag, and so he can get more buns than normal. Usually just one of them would fit in there. And so I did that. I did that, I think, for 3 days, where he got 3 buns like that were like small and hard. And then he came back and he said, you know what? These are really hard to eat. Like, are you trying to suffocate me? Because I can hardly swallow them. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's not, like, I'm not a bread baker. That's just simply not who I am. It's not my gifting. He does it so well. So now knowing that it's actually, if I can take the pressure off of myself and I'm not trying to perform anymore, and I realize that actually in biblical tradition, this chapter here was actually memorized by the men, not by the woman. It was memorized by the men, and they would speak it over every single week over their wives as a way to honor them and bless them. And so what would happen if you were able to just listen to, is it okay with you, every single one of you, if I read this chapter to you as a blessing over you? As this is who you are. This is not something that you need to do, but this is just who you are. Can I get some feedback? Are you all okay with me reading it from that perspective? Yes? Some of you have heard this already in our class, but for those of you that are not familiar with who we are, I would love for you to hear it in that way, because the feedback was incredible. The last time I read this through as a blessing, I couldn't get through it without tears. Mm-hmm. Because I could feel the shift in the weight coming off of women, just realizing, okay, I don't need to perform anymore. I can just be. And so if that's okay with you, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to read these verses to you. Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. I just have to stop right here. It's interesting to me that the first verse talks about the worth and the value of a woman. So what if actually before you can even receive this blessing, you have to know that you are valuable, that you are worthy, that you are seen, that you are wanted here. If your worth is far above rubies, actually, that means if you look at a ruby and you just want to buy one ruby, some of you have heard this before, but if you buy one 10-carat ruby, take a guess, what's the cost? Put it in the chat. What do you think one 10-carat ruby, just a loose stone, would be worth? $50K, it's a good guess. Anyone else? $500K, $10K, $65, $25. So I looked this up and, $100K. Okay, these are so good. Sarah, you're right. $500K for one ruby. That's the value right now if you're gonna buy a loose stone. And so if your worth is far above rubies, that means there's plural, first of all, rubies, plural, and it's far above that yet. So if you had a handful of rubies, that is easily over $10 million. I think in this way where I need to make this practical instead of just rushing through the verses, making it practical. Can we see ourselves as that valuable? Mm-hmm. And so then just positioning ourselves in that place of okay. And the thing is, you don't find that value in what you do and what you accomplish. You just find that value in who you are and who I believe God created you to be. What Dr. Tina taught me so well right from the beginning was I see you through God's eyes. God who created you through his eyes, and he found and he saw you as being valuable and worthy, that he sent his only son to die for you. That's my belief. And so now knowing that that's how valuable you are, now let's proceed and okay, if I got that part right, then I can receive the rest. Does that sound good? Yeah? Okay. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household, or gets people to do it for her. Just make sure it's done. And a portion for her maidservants. She considers a field and buys it. From her profits, she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good and her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. She's not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestry for herself, and her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates. When he sits among the elders of the land, she makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes for the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands and let her own works praise her in the gates.
Mm-hmm. Hearing that just as a blessing and just allowing those words to wash over me, just hearing you pronounce that, realizing that this was given traditionally for the men to be able to speak over their wife, to speak over their daughters, to let that be a pronounced blessing that was spoken every single week. For me, Helen, that completely has changed how I've read Proverbs 31 since you've taught that to the multiplier community. It's incredible. Incredible.
Me too.
Can you tell us what Benny did?
Yeah, so I actually went to him and I said, okay, well, biblical tradition is that the husband reads this over the wife. And would you like to do that for us, for me, and for our 3 daughters? We have 5 children, 3 daughters and 2 boys. And he said yes. And so he's been reading it to us as a blessing. And it just, our boys love it. Like it just brings, there's just something about speaking a blessing around the table to your family that my boys were like, well, what about us? We want a blessing too. Like, okay, well, we're gonna, so they also receive a blessing, and Benny, he reads a different chapter over them. But it's just been powerful to be able to receive this and know that this is who I am. Yeah, maybe I don't do all of these things yet, but to the core of my being, this is who I am. And Dr. Tina, can I just go into how you beautifully, you show us how to do that with the master's mind?
Go for it.
So knowing that now, what you were teaching us was, even now, if I believe that this is who I am, her works, they praise her, she's considering it field and buying it, all of a sudden now what you teach us as a brain expert and a brain coach is that now it's in front of you and you start to look for the opportunities. You start to open yourself up to the opportunities of, where can I do this? You renew your mind to it, and it shifts your perspective in a way that it changes your life. Because now you start to look for opportunities to do these things instead of trying to do it as a duty. And it makes all the difference. And so I love that. I love how you do that. So practically, you show us how to do that.
Well, can we go there for just a second, Helen, and just really talk about why that works so well? And that is because when we begin to realize that a blessing spoken over you is far more powerful than any curse that's ever been spoken to you, when we can begin to do this divine exchange, when we can begin to trade out yesterday's belief system for what we know to be this pronounced blessing that's coming over us, what we begin to have happen on the inside of our brain when you hear this over and over and over again, and this is read over you and pronounced over you, and maybe some of you aren't married yet, maybe some of your spouses would never do this for you, but you can read this over yourself. This is a blessing. This is a commanded blessing that you can even read over yourself. If this is who you are as a woman, what we begin to create is new neural pathways on the inside of our brain. And then your reticular activating system suddenly gets charged to be able to look for these opportunities to buy a vineyard and to have employees work for you and begin to get up early, and you're looking and suddenly the strength is there and you have that sustainability to be able to stay up late if you need to. And hopefully you don't have to do both of those at the same time every single day. I mean, we can trade those in and out, but our brain begins to look for these as opportunities, and we see them now as a blessed opportunity instead of a mundane task that we have to do. When you hear that as a blessing, it charges you with energy. When you hear that as a blessing, now all of a sudden your brain is now out there looking, your antennas have been set, and you're finding where these things can be lived out within your life. So that's why that blessing being spoken over you and hearing that on a consistent basis is going to create that repetition, 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 the mother of all skill. We hear it over and over again, we become it. And what we say to ourselves over and over again, we live out as well, right, Helen?
Yeah, just this first verse alone, that was a very key verse for me a few years ago, where I didn't think that I was worth, I didn't believe in the power of my voice. I shut myself down. I allowed religion to just tell me to just not speak up because there was no worth or no value in my own voice. What would happen if for 2 months you decided to speak over yourself that I am worth far above more than rubies?
Yes.
What would happen if you even made yourself a screensaver with a bunch of rubies, reminding yourself every single time you look at it, I am worth more than that? What would happen if you're a businesswoman and you started to believe in your worth so much that now your social media presence completely changes because you believe you have value to give?
Love that. So good. Oh, okay. Well, we could just camp right here on this one question, but can I bring another one to you? Here we go.
Yes.
Let's go to the next step. So why do you think so many women then feel stuck and unfulfilled while they're going after these to-dos, these lists of things that are right here within Proverbs 31?
Well, what I've personally found is that it's usually because you're trying to fulfill the role instead of just being. And you find your identity is tied to the role. Your identity is tied to being a wife, or your identity is tied to being a mom. And if that's the only place you find your identity in, you're always going to find someone who does it better than you. And so instead of finding your identity in who you were created, beyond all of the roles. And Dr. Tina, we talked about this in the class, and you brought us into what that looks like practically.
Yeah, absolutely. You go for it. Share.
So knowing that, okay, how about we do this in the chat? What are some roles that you do? When you introduce yourself, this is how I would always introduce myself. Like if someone asked me, like, who are you? I would say, well, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I homeschool. These are all my do's. I would name all of the things that I do. Is anyone else that way? What's your first response? Nurse, mother, pastor's wife. I love that, Garnett. What else? What else do you say when someone asks you, who are you? Mom of 10. I love that, Amanda. Love that. Counselor. Okay, keep going. This is really good. I say my name. Oof, that's powerful, Dr. Rafiq. That is powerful. A manager, God's daughter, Jordan's mom. This is beautiful. And when I'm just reading these comments here, Amanda is an incredible mom. I know her personally. You inspire me beyond. I love the mom that you are. Wife of Willie when people don't recognize me. Mom of 5. wife, owner of food truck. Oh, it's good to see you on here, Esther. And so I want to go back actually to 4 years ago when I first went through one of the one-on-one classes. I did one-on-one coaching with you, and you took us through this exercise to where we were asked, what are 100 things that you love about yourself? Well, I looked at that and thought, like, I might be able to come up with 5. But eventually, there's only so many roles I could put on there of things that I do. I like that I'm a mom. I like that I'm a wife. But beyond that, now you get to the core of who you are. Now, who are you really? Who are you really? And I began to, all of a sudden, it's about my character of who God created me to be, the character of who I am. I am love. I bring love. All of a sudden it's different. That's not a role. That's who I am. I am worthy. That's not a role. It's who I am. If all of the other stuff goes away, I can still be solid in who I am. Dr. Tina, what else would you add?
Well, I want to just bring a story in here. So many different coaching stories where I've been in a connection and a call with someone and then have them say, well, I used to think I was a great mom, but now we have an empty nest. What's my purpose in life? Mm-hmm. I used to think my role and my identity was connected around being a wife, but my husband died. Now who am I? When we begin to put our identity in a task of something that we do, the danger in that is all of a sudden we lose us. We lose us. I mean, I look at all of these different amazing things, might I say. So hear this loud and clear before I say what I'm going to say. I read all of these things and I just go, wow. And who were you before that? 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 I mean, today is your daughter's first birthday. Mm-hmm. I mean, here she is, this gorgeous beauty of a girl. She's 1. Has she done anything to earn your love? Has she done anything to earn being worthy enough? Or is it the delight that you have in loving her and in caring for her and calling her your daughter and looking into her and going, wow, you just look just like your dad. Oh my goodness, you laugh at her and you care for her and you feed her and you change her diapers and you absolutely do everything in order to take care of her. She's done nothing in order to earn that love. And here you are giving to her every single day. Can we all really see that and understand that this is how it is for so many of us? All right, well, Helen, let's go on to the third question then. And here's your third question. What about the woman who has a completely unsupportive spouse? And they feel like they're carrying all of the spiritual weight within their home by themselves?
That's a hard one. And that's one that I hear very often. So first of all, I want to say, if that is you, know that you're not alone. You're not alone. It's not because of who you are. And so just know that we love you. We honor you. We see you. And secondly, it just comes back to a personal story where I remember when early on in my marriage, I was in a place where I wanted to see my husband be a certain way because, I don't know, I maybe had also a list of things that I wanted to see in him. And so I actually bought a book called The Power of a Praying Wife. And I picked it up knowing that, hey, I think this is going to be the time where I'm going to pray for him to change and he's going to change. It's going to be awesome. And I read the first chapter and it was all about me. The recommendation was to change me. And I thought, well, shoot, this is so disappointing. But it was so freeing to realize that it's actually not my job to try to change my husband and who I think he should be. And it's not your job. And for me, when I took that weight off, knowing that I don't have to be the one that's responsible for my husband, and I'm just responsible for myself. It was so liberating, and might I say, fruit producing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember even just when I began to realize, okay, I actually just need to work on me. That's something I can control. That's something you can control. That's something you get to choose. And so there's empowerment in knowing that I can make that choice. And I realized that even as I went down this soul detox journey with you, Dr. Tina, when I'm investing into myself, I'm actually investing into my family, into my home. I saw when I changed, the home began to change because I was bringing something else to the table of who I was. I was bringing peace when that had never been the case before. And that's felt. You know, you can feel that when you're around someone who just carries this peace and safety about them versus someone who's on edge and someone who's anxious and someone who's just waiting for the next shoe to drop. When I invested in myself, it didn't take long when my husband, he was just like, he began to really support me continue to go forward in investing into myself. I mean, I don't know how to look at that in you know, I could look at that from a negative perspective, right? But it was awesome to see that he actually, when we just bring ourselves differently and we invest into ourselves, the people around us change. And knowing now what I'm learning and bringing it to my kids, they are completely different people because I chose to invest in myself.
That's right.
And so even going to the part of when you feel like you're the one carrying the spiritual weight, to that I would say, who said you had to carry it? What if you're a believer I'm assuming because of this question is saying the spiritual weight, if you're a believer, you don't have to be the one to carry it. Who do you think carries that for you? It's God. Whew. That was so freeing. And I've had so many calls on this specific question, and it completely changed their relationship in their home when they realized, oh, the wife didn't have to carry it. It changed everything. It brought joy back into their marriage. How does that work? So you don't have to be the one to carry it. That's how I would answer that.
I love that because
would you add?
Yeah, what you're actually doing when you feel it's your job in order to change your spouse, you're actually putting more weight on yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the opposite of what it is that we're doing here. Let me say it in a little bit of a different way. If you try to carry all of that weight yourself, you're becoming stronger, or so you think. You're becoming stronger, and you are allowing him to become weaker. Does anybody want to be married to a weak man? No. We absolutely value, we celebrate, we absolutely love the strength that we get to be married to. We celebrate that, we honor that, we absolutely adore that strength that is in our spouse. So if we try to take that weight on, we're allowing them to become weak. We're actually not giving them permission to enter into that weight room of life in order to carry that weight. They might do it differently than you, and that's okay. That's okay. Can I tell on myself and tell a story I don't share publicly very often? But why not just like share it with the world? Like total embarrassing moment story. Can I tell you guys that? Ron,
I want to hear that.
Okay. Christian, can you partner with me on this? Would that be okay? Okay. All right. So I'm going to bring Christian in, and he's going to pretend to be his dad for this exercise. So here, Scott and I, he's almost as tall as his dad, so this is good. Scott and I were at a personal development conference many years ago, and there was this exercise that we were given to do. Now, how you do anything is how you do everything. It's one of the things that we teach. Well, many years ago, I didn't understand this yet. And this exercise was given to us that if you were there at this conference with your spouse, you needed to do this exercise with your spouse. So Scott and I teamed up, and all of a sudden they said, all right, here we go. This game is a competition. Well, go ahead and say competition to Scott and I together, and you can be guaranteed we're in it to win it. Anybody else married to people like that? Like, you're just like, we're in it to win it, right? So here was the exercise. The exercise was, I want you to see who can get their hand on the other person's shoulder. Okay, so immediately, competition, get your hand on the other person's shoulder. This now, I'm 5'4", Scott's 6'5", and I'm thinking, I've gotta win. This is a competition. So all of a sudden, Scott and I are standing there together, and it was a competition now. And they were like, on your marks, get set, go! And I began to fighting with my darkness. I was then taking my second hand and pushing. I was gonna get my hand on his shoulder. And Scott's so strong, like Christian, he was just like, Tina, for real, like, stop it. Like, you are not going to win in this game. Well, I must have made an absolute fool of myself because this room was packed full of people. We get done with this exercise and I didn't win. I didn't win, but he didn't either. Gosh darn it, he didn't either. I didn't let him get his hand on my shoulder either. He probably let me win. Okay, let's be real. But we got done with this, and this woman called me, of all people, to the front. I was like, oh no. I made an utter fool of myself, but I didn't know what I had done wrong. That was the worst part right there. She brought me up to the front and she's like, so I saw how you did that interaction game with your husband. And I was like, yep. She's like, did you win? I was like, no, but he didn't either. Like, well, like, this is awesome. And then she made this one statement. So what you just told all of us is that you want to be married to a loser? Oh my gosh. I go, no. She's like, then why did you have to win? By definition, if you have to win, doesn't that make him a loser? And I went, oh my gosh, yes. So she said, well, why can't you do this? The object of the game was a competition. Get your hand on the other person's shoulder. Couldn't you both win? Couldn't you do win-win? Couldn't you both be married to a winner? Thank you, son. Couldn't you both be married to a winner? That moment for me was completely eye-opening. I think you were like 2 or 3 years old when Dad and I did that class. I mean, like, whoa, huge. And that goes so perfectly with this analogy right here. If you feel like you have to carry the weight, then that means you feel that you have to win because you feel that they're a loser in that area. Well, what happens if you let them go ahead and carry their side? What happens if we do shoulder to shoulder?
And that's something that you often say, where we don't, when we're talking about this topic specifically with wife and husband, you don't have to choose between the two. It's not woman or man, it's both. Where this beautiful statement that you always say, where we honor man while celebrating woman, and we don't choose between the two. We do both. We do both.
Yeah.
That has made a huge impact on my life. So did I answer that? Yeah.
Yeah, very good. All right, well, let's go to the fourth question. Fourth question, here we go. So, how can we do all of this, Helen, without feeling burned out?
Okay, so for me, I'll speak for myself. Without feeling burned out, I have to realize that I have to take time for myself first. That's one of the things. Because I believe in God, if I have that time with him, I'll just share an experience that I had recently where I was on the verge of feeling burnt out. And with me believing in the Bible, believing in the word, knowing that I have a relationship with God, a personal relationship where we're talking to each other. It's not just me talking, he's also talking. When I have that time with him, I had one of those moments, Dr. Tina, where I was in prayer and I was just sitting still. Some people, you would call it meditation, where I was just sitting still and being in that presence. And I saw this beautiful picture where I saw eagles flying and I saw mountains, and I was just watching it, and it was
Wow.
beautiful. And after I was done, I was like, wow, that was incredible. That was a really, like, I wonder what that means. Thank you, God, for showing that to me. And I realized, oh, actually, and then he brought me to scripture. One of the verses that's a very common one, found in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. It says, but they that wait upon the Lord, they shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. I had a moment there where I knew that I had an experience with this verse. And I walked away from that time feeling completely refreshed, feeling completely energetic, and feeling ready to do all the things that I had on my list. There was times where I had a full calendar of things to do, like right from the morning till the evening, where every single hour there was something there, and it used to overwhelm me to see that much stuff. But when I can be in this place of receiving the strength from God, that's my personal relationship. For you, it might be something different. But for me to get that strength from him, it's imparted to me. Now it's not on my own strength. I have that partnership. And that's one of the keys for me to be able to do all of these things without burnout. And then also coming back to the place of, it's not just a checklist. This whole scripture, it's something that we'll do, and you said this so beautifully last time, in our full season of life. It doesn't always necessarily mean we'll do everything in one day. Mm-hmm. It's not what it means. But being able to see that we'll do this in a season of our life. So does that answer that question for you?
Yeah, that is so good. That is so good. I'm still captivated by how you defined prayer as a conversation with God. You're talking to him and he's talking to you. Did you all hear that? That's just amazing. We sat down to have that conversation time, that prayer time together with God. We're here, you're pouring your heart out to him and he's pouring his heart back into you. Wow. So when we wait on him, when we're waiting with him, when we're there at the table together, presented with him, now it's this communion, this common union, this conversation, this oneness. When we can pour into ourselves, what I hear you saying is when we can take that time to pour into ourselves, that is the key, the first key for us not to get burned out.
Yeah. Or you pour from a filled cup. Your cup's not empty. You have something to fill. You have something to pour out. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, have you ever had a conversation with someone and it's only been one person talking? I mean, I have. It's pretty exhausting. You usually want that connection time where you're both talking. And that's what it's like to talk to God as well. That's refreshing. That fills up my cup.
I love that. So Helen, one of the things that I know you're really good at is helping people walk through this journey. And one of the things we know as coaches is, you know what? Not everybody has taken this journey. Not all of us know how to travel this journey. And some of us would really appreciate being able to walk this journey together. Just like you and I have walked this journey together. There's some people, men and women, who want to be able to walk this journey in proper identity and connection. So I know you have a gift that you want to give to everybody tonight. Do you want to share with them that gift?
Yeah. So I'm going to put a link here in the chat. And I wanted to, what I asked Dr. Tina if I could do was just give a gift into every single one of you. If you're new to our community, to book a 20-minute call where we can just connect heart to heart, where I can hear where you're at. You've heard so much about me. I want to hear from you. I want to hear where you're at and how we can partner together with you. And so I'm gonna drop it in here. Does that explain it well? Do you want to say anything more?
Problem. Yeah, I think that's the key. If you guys are brand new to our community and you want to be able to learn a little bit more and how can we partner together with you, one of those ways that you can do that is just doing that consultation call, a connection call together with Helen. Another thing that we can bring or that we can give into each and every one of you is an opportunity to join our Master's Mind community, where we begin to step in and I'm beginning to teach each and every person, how do we connect in who God created us together as one? How do we begin to look at who God created us to be, and also understand that as a man thinks, so is he. There is a process of the mind. There's a process of the thought. My absolute passion for your brain and understanding how you think and teaching you how to retrain your own thinking process. I like to say it in a really funny way. You know, the proverb says, as a man thinks, so is he. Well, so oftentimes people don't like how they are, so they need to go back and they need to change their think. We need to figure out how we can renew our mind. So I'm going to have Christian drop in here an opportunity for each and every one of you. We've got the Master's Mind program that you can join. It's on a subscription basis. It's $97 a month. You're joined in together with our entire community. You get all of the past recordings. You can connect in and together, and you're a part of who we are. It's 4 different meetings a month, all of the notes, all of the support that goes along in and together with that. And that price is going to be changing as soon as we go into October. So as we are doing these hot topic classes, this is the last opportunity that it's going to be set at that price. Is going to be increasing to $127 as soon as we get into October. So we want to give everybody the opportunity to join in on that, the Master's Mind, really understanding how to do that together. So Christian, can you drop that in there? Oh, you got it there. Okay, and the link's up there. Awesome. What a great team we have. So that's another way where you guys can get connected in together with us as a community, and you want to go deeper, you want to take this even further. We'd love to be able to serve you in that way. Well, Helen, thank you. Thank you for bringing the raw of you, the journey, the lessons, the wisdom, the learning that you brought into every single one of us. I hope you guys heard her loud and clear. This is years of journey that she's just handed to you guys, these huge nuggets, these rubies, this value that she's connected all of us together with. So thank you, my friend. I greatly appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for setting this up and just inviting us all to be a part of it with you.
Absolutely. Oh, well, can we give Helen a round of applause, everyone? You're on here live together with us tonight. Amazing.
Thank you.